The Nigerian Institute of Building is a professional body for builders and those who are about to be engaged in the noble profession of building in Nigeria. The institute has its origin in a similar body called the Builders, formed in 1834 by some prominent builders in London. That body later metamorphosed to the Chartered Institute of Building, United Kingdom. It is noteworthy that shortly after Nigeria's independence, there had been a strong desire for Africa, and particularly Nigeria, to have a platform similar to that of the United Kingdom. This effort, initially crystallized as a branch of the Chartered Institute of Building, was first started in the country as an appendage of that of the United Kingdom. But precisely in 1967, Nigeria became the first overseas center of the Institute of Building, which later became autonomous on November 5, 1970. Behind the tortuous but exciting journey of what has today become the Nigerian Institute of Building were men and women whose roles could not be forgotten in a hurry.
Past President, Nigerian Institute of Building, 2011 to 2013.
I am Prince Builder Mujib Dollar Relishiri. I was President Niob 2007 to 2009.
My name is Alha A. Moazu. I was a past President of the Nigerian Institute of Building. I served as President of this institute from 1991 to 1992 for a period of 1 year.
My name is Builder Omoba Adewale Adetola Odunlame. I served as the substantive president of the NLB during the period of 1995 to 1997.
My name is Professor Kunle Adewahab. From 1983, I became the president, and then I left office in 1988.
My name is Atumba Patai Shola Oshikoya. I served in 1968 to 1972.
My name is Honorable Balak Kauji, builder by profession and former president of the Nigerian Institute of Building. Precisely, I served between the year 2005 to 2007.
I'm by name Dr. Ayo Bamishile. I'm a builder by profession. I became president of Nigerian Institute of Building in year 2001. So I served as president in the council between 2001 and 2002 council year.
My name is Builder Tijani Shuaib Brennan Kudu. I am the immediate past president of the Nigerian Institute of Building. I served between the year 2015 to 2017 and then over to the current president by August 2017.
My name is Builder Batunde Lashabi. By the year 2013, specifically on the 29th of August that year, I became the president of the Nigerian Institute of Building, and I completed 2 terms and ended the tenure in August 2015.
My name is Builder Dr. Michael Young. I became president of Nigerian Institute of Building in 2003 to 2005.
As a president, one of the major issues I'm trying to drive is creating an awareness in the print and electronic media, and also creating an awareness of the critical role of the builder in the value chain of housing delivery in Nigeria. The other things we tried to do again was creation of international linkages for the institute by proposing collaboration with Chartered Institute of Building. This was initiated by officials visit to CIOB in South Africa, responsible for African continent. The summary of that discussion was basically a submission of NIOB syllabus for consideration and exemptions leading to an award of MCIOB, which would have given the institute members international exposure and acceptance, and creating a competitive edge for members across board. That particular initiative is still in the pipeline, and we hope that one day the institute will take it up and drive to its conclusion.
The two major achievements, I had many, but two major ones were I moved the institute from Lagos to Abuja. That started from early 2008. We completed the movement in January 2009. That is, we moved the headquarters of NIOB from Lagos to Abuja between the beginning of 2008 to the beginning of 2009. That was a major achievement of mine.
I believe during this period, I had one. We were able to consolidate this and work with COBON that time, which was established for the institute. That was the achievement I had. Building a blueprint based on the decree. That was the achievement that we had.
Achievements I cannot really count, because in the area of recognition, we achieved so much at the university level and the polytechnic level, and we're able to sell the NIOB, because during my time we opened a licensing office at Abuja, and we were able to get a comfortable accommodation at the old FCT building. And even it was during my time that we gave COBON one of our rooms to establish an office in Abuja. And the eastern part and the northern part were well established, and conferences were well attended.
Until I became president virtually, the institute, that is the Nigerian Institute of Building, was having difficulty in being recognized by even our sister professions for one reason or the other. And the reason why I think I was very lucky is my own personal interaction with the Minister of Works and Housing, the late Maman Kotangora, of blessed memory. And from there on, we were able to let the authorities know the content of the syllabus that enables an undergraduate to start from A levels or prelim from any of these universities with the content of the work and their specialization. It was such that there was no doubt anymore in anybody's mind that those students who offered to read building as a profession, the content of their studies was completely focused, and people knew that they drank so deep in the areas of the management of building profession. And because our students were also lucky that, say, in many of the departments of building which we helped to create or to establish with the help of from government and the industry, who are clamoring for specialization in this subject, that the students were able to give a good account of themselves, not only on the depths of their theoretical and practical works. And of course the National University Commission, from the point of view of the university system, and the other professional groups, it became obvious that the study to become a builder, when you are fully qualified and you have sat both the examination where necessary of the Nigerian Institute of Building as well as COBON, that we were producing excellent people with the right background.
The achievement which I got was that I got them, the members, to agree that we should follow the world policy. So that eventually we will not be looked down upon as second-hand citizens. So this is an achievement. It's a great achievement.
Came through, I can say I achieved this exalted position by following through the process, procedure, and steps. That means that I was once a third vice president, a second vice president, then a first vice president before I was opportune to become the president of the National Assembly. Now, throughout my tenure for those 6 years from third president, I've been observing a lot of things. I took in a third president when we had just moved, relocated from Lagos to Abuja, where we were scouting at one place in Barumpa, which was just a 2-bedroom flat, which was very challenging. I was doing Tina of Bildadiji. I really Shere, we just moved it to the Bildadiji Jumbo. Now, I'm saying it because these are part of the talent that have been bothering me as an institute. My main concern at that time, from the time I've been at the council, is that why should builders don't have a building? They don't have home. That's what has been disturbing me. So when we moved to Abuja, I've all the previous presidents I mentioned, both Arileshere, Jambo, Builder Chooks, and Builder Tunde Lasabi, I have all confronted them. It's high time for us to get ourselves a home, a place to stay. If not for any other thing, among others, but we should all have a place to stay. That did not happen. Till 1 week, when I was opportune to be the president in 1915, remember in my first speech I said, I promised that before I hand over, one of the challenges is we builders must have a building, must have a home. I think that's one of there are other challenges, but this is the main thing that personally challenged me. That if the only thing I could achieve in my tenure, let it be that I get a building for the institute. I'm happy to say that you know that I have done that. I moved in, and in September, I took over in August. By September, October 2015, I started looking for a house, which at the end of October that year, I was able to get a block of 6 flats, which I started negotiating at the cost of about 75 million, which I started after inheriting some amount of money. I started making a deposit of 10 million naira. I negotiated to pay within a period of 2 years before I handed over. And alhamdulillah, you know that by the time I handed over in August last year, I had paid 90% of that amount, leaving just about 6 million naira for the incoming president to take over. And we had occupied the building. That's one of my achievements and challenges I was able to overcome.
I think one of the things that I can always remember is that it was during my time that the National Building Code, which all the professions in the built environment came together to formulate, was concluded. And myself and the then Minister of Housing worked on presenting it to the Federal Executive Council. I played a major role to see to the passage of that particular National Building Code by the Federal Executive Council, and after which we were directed to forward it to the National Assembly for passage, which we did. So I always remember that time, because to have a minimum standard in a country like Nigeria was something that should have happened long time ago, because if you look at other countries around us, Niger, Cameroon, Ghana, they have had their own minimum standards, and the way they build houses or other public structures in the country, and Nigeria didn't have any. So that is one aspect that I always remember. And Also, secondly, Fadil, when I became president, we were less than maybe about 500 builders registered around the country.
I would like to state that as a president, I try to forge a good relationship between the building profession and the sister professions in the build environment. I consider that as a major thing because you cannot be a lone ranger. Builders are within the build environment, and we need to have a good synergy between us and our sister professions. So I see that as an achievement because we no longer see ourselves as enemies or antagonizing each other. We begin to see ourselves as brothers, not only as brothers, but as professionals that have their own core competency and area of specialties to contribute into the build environment. So I consider that as an achievement.
Before I even took the mantle of leadership, the first thing I did was to set up a think tank. This think tank had meetings for 4 days at the University of Lagos to set forth the strategic route on which the institute will move. And I tell you, even up to now, they have not exhausted the proposal of that think tank. Because even these women builders in academia, these artisans and craftsmen, it's during that period that the think tank garnered that those things are very essential for the industry.
Achievements have to do with vision. I came in with vision as the president into the institute, and the first thing in my mind was that I wanted to bring the Nigerian Institute of Building into national consciousness. And of course, to do this, there had to be certain peculiar items which one must look at. One of them is the issue of the artisans and craftsmen. I had it in mind that I am going to pursue this vigorously, which I did eventually. And of course, I had 12-point agenda. And with the 12-point agenda, we had the issue of even what we call Project 999, which is the career talk. Career talk had been existing, but it was not pursued as it should be. And we called it Project 999 because we felt the best thing to do was to take 3 secondary schools at least from each senatorial zone, in a month, and make sure we do career talk for them. Of course, that 3 in a month will be 27, and there are 36 states of the Federation, Abuja being the 37th one. So if you multiply 37 by the 27, it gives 999. That's how we arrived at Project 999. Then again, while the issue of artisanship was going on, the National Board for Technical Education, because we had the SURE-P program from the Federal Ministry of Labor and Productivity, and they gave us the program. We implemented it successfully, and that encouraged the National Board of Technical Education to invite us for the issue of NVQF, National Vocational Qualification Framework, laying the foundation for the board, Artisan and Craftsmen Board in the Nigerian Institute of Building. Not only that, we had the opportunity of empowering builders, because there are now people who are assessors, there are people who are now verifiers, there are people who now have training schools, there are people who now enjoy these items laid out as has stock now. So this one turned the institute into a hub of professional activities. Not only this, by virtue of what we have done then, we laid a sort of solid foundation for the N-Power issue, which is being done now in the Institute and the Council of Registered Builders. Of course, even the N-Power trainees, by the time they finish, they will have to pass through the Nigerian Institute of Building for the for coming into the system. because they have to do their exam, they have to come in through the board, and that board, we had it in place already by virtue of the fact that when we were in office, all these things were on. You see, not only this, there was also the issue of this international accounting standards, which we did then in the institute. That one is to make sure that audited account of the Nigerian Institute of Building can be recognized anywhere in the world. And of course, again, that one is there.
For every administration, the purpose of coming on board is to solve problems and solve challenges. For my own time, the major challenge we had was in the area of funding, of income, because income from membership dues were very, very low. Administratively, we have the issue of staff loyalty and members' refusal to own the institute. And this will be a surprise to a lot of people, but the fact remains that when I came on board, it was very obvious that the members do not know the stake they have in the institute. They subjected themselves to staffs who controls them and tell them what to do. But as a president, I ensured that the members were placed as board members of this professional body.
We noticed that we had many members, but payment of annual dues was very low. It was as terrible as only 10% of members paying annual dues. I worked on it, but I failed. It was a big challenge. I could not improve the payment of annual dues by members. I don't know the situation now, but I believe it is still a bad situation.
We are struggling to get a decree or a law to regulate the profession of building. This has been going on for, let me see, since 1965. And the struggle was a very big struggle, really. So this, when I became president, 1991, we were just able to get the decree passed. So of course, to consolidate, to start working as an Institute of Building with this decree was the biggest challenge.
Before I got into office, we have problem of membership drive, particularly from the north. So before I got into office, there was a program called Matured Candidates, in which those who had HND building were given opportunity after serving for about 15 years in a responsible position to become a corporate member. And those with degree with about 8 years post-degree qualification were brought in. I made good effort, conservative effort, to make sure that we brought those people who have this qualification, and we are sitting back. We were able to encourage them both from the north and the eastern part and the western part of Nigeria. And we definitely increased tremendously the corporate membership.
By virtue of my own professional status and the fact that we led several national universities accreditation programs, so several institutions like the polytechnics and universities, we have now become respected by sister professional body that we are simply calling ourselves partners, and everybody knew that you need the compatibility of the professionals to recognize that we need to assist each other, we need to work together for the recognitions of each other, and that it is a professional that, the construction industry, as we know, is with all the 6 or 7 professional grouping, we are partners in the progress of enabling a construction industry to be formidable, to be able to deliver the goods and services that the nation wants, housing program and other physical infrastructures. We need to work together to be able to present a united front on the basis of the fact that it is these kind of professionals, when we work together, that we can improve the productivity and the acceptability that is required to be able to produce those items that the country badly needed at the time.
The challenges were great because all the members that were there then, they did not. A lot of them did not go through through the institute in London, and they were locally they are in ministry and Minister of Works. So when London agreed that we formed the Nigerian Institute of Building, the members, some of the members wanted us to make them corporate members. Which I said, no, we have to take the proper examination if we are to stand amongst other nations. We have to qualify, real qualification, not just because you've worked in the ministry, therefore you can just begin that. No, you have to take the necessary exam, get qualified, and before you can become an associate or a corporate member. This one caused a lot of friction between me and some of them, a lot of the members. But I put my foot down. No, these things have got to be done as it should be done if we are to be recognized worldwide. So after a lot of battle that year, so they all agreed. So then we went to the first step of the laid down policy of the Institute of Building.
Registration capacity of builders around the country. And we were lucky, we had a turnaround at that time because the last AGM I held before I left, we had a very big turnout, which was far above 700, and it was very surprising that subsequently the number was really blowing out like it was really blowing out, and we started to have membership of the institute rising from 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000 and above. Today, the institute can boast of over 5,000 membership, and I think that is it's a big achievement.
Well, like you rightly said, yes, there are other talents, but like I mentioned it because it was more preoccupying for me. It was a priority I placed. There are other talents like Bilazidi Jambol had made some achievements. He was the one that made us about 4.9 hectares of land at Airport Road. One of the challenges I had was, how do we develop it? Builder Chooks I was able to fence it with the four courses of block work at the fillet, which I have been there. But then my challenge was then how to get access road. I know I've tried and it's still in progress because I have contacted many organizations, including Julius Baja, who made a survey and produced it and promised they are going to give us access to that place. Those are challenges I had and I was able to achieve some part of it. I know it's still in progress, but I'm still working on that.
We builders, we need to work hand in hand with the sister professions. So we are able to overcome this antagonism between us and sister professions by educating them. I go extra mile on my own at private times, going into their offices, talking to them individually, and try to bring them on board for them to recognize and understand the position of the builders. And when you begin showing hand of friendship to people, definitely they are going to do the same thing to you. They are going to show you compassion. They are going to show you hand of friendship. So I think we are able to overcome this by going to them, educating them, and let them know that look, no one is coming to take your position. No one is coming to take your position. You have your roles to play. And I equally remember that during my presidency, even after, I keep on attending their seminars, I keep on going to them as guest speakers. They keep on inviting me, the town planners, the architects, the engineers, they keep on inviting me, and I go there to let them know that they are relevant, and at the same time builders are relevant, that we complement each other.
The first challenge I faced was that that time majority of my council members are from Lagos. Precisely, even Niob College of Techs normally have or had 4 council members. And most of the times we come to this council, some of them will come by around 10 o'clock, before 4 o'clock they are gone. And it becomes a real big challenge because it made me now to be running out of step. Most of the decisions we needed in the council, we cannot fully finish it within that few hours that the majority of the council members were there. So one of the things I did was to convince the council that we'll be rotating the council. We were rotating the council because we set off that we'll be having 6 councils in the year. So we now rotate the council. One of the reasons is that I want people, to as well feel what other people from the lands, have, in coming to council in Lagos. So we moved council to Calabar, to Enugu, just like that. And at least those people will not run away by 4 o'clock to go back to their business. They will stay and finish the council. And whenever we have council, we normally use it for visitation to state government functionaries for propagation of the profession. Because I felt that during that time we achieved certain things from the state government because we set up a day for that visitation. We know too well that Niob or building profession have not been very well known, but when we now interact and they see people that come from various parts of the country, it helps them to see that it's not a local champion, that is purely national organization.
We left a legacy of ensuring acceptance within the built environment professionals. We try to make them realize that we are equal partners. That's why coming on board as a professional very, very late.
The legacy is honesty and integrity. I washed my hands 100% clean when I took over from Builder Kauji, and I left a very, very clean accounting record to the person that succeeded me, Builder Didi Jambo.
I told you the period I was president, 1991 to 1992, was a period where we didn't have a decree regulating the profession of building. To suddenly having one is a peculiar period. I cannot say that I personally left a legacy. The legacy I left was built on from the previous presidents with whom we have worked closely, very, very closely, and is in these areas I just enumerated earlier to build it. But you cannot just say that we left this legacy. It is built up. There was nothing before, so it is a very difficult situation. So the legacy I left, it was a build up on the previous legacies of the previous presidents from 1990 up to 1991 to 1992.
The legacy I can boast of is that during my time, the secretariat of the Niob was strengthened. Members were able to be communicated. Members that come to Lagos get their problems solved. The staff were properly documented and schedule of duties were clearly given, particularly in the accounting section, where I brought in a government accountant to teach our people how to balance the accounts, how to enter the accounts. And then we were able to bring people from the east and the north. We were able to establish them. And the zonal sections and the chairmen of the chapters, we are strengthening and giving more power to carry out certain duties.
There are several legacies. As I said, one of them in my previous speech on this matter is the fact that the respect that builders, were getting during my own tenure of office, and the capability of the students. After all, we used to say in those days, if any of the professional groups have an in-depth studies in the university for a period of 5 to 6 years, we ought to understand what the students have been able to do. We have been able to market our products in such a way that everybody had respect for each other. And I think this kind of recognition was enough to justify. I remember at a stage during this period that I had to physically write and explain to our sister profession by addressing the issue to each of the presidents of the related professional bodies like architects, engineers, quantity surveyors, estate surveyors and valuers, town planners, and to relate. And these are people, they are students or those who have become professional. They have walked along during undergraduate training with the building students, and they know their worth. So these are legacies that people have come to recognize, that building as a profession is no less strong than any other professional bodies within the construction sector.
There are a lot of changes. In the NIB. See, because particularly with the other professions in the construction industry, if we hadn't done the way we did it, the architects, the engineers, they won't accept us. They would not have accepted us, particularly the architects. During my tenure, it was a real battle with the architects, battle with the QS. This one of the QS was not as pronounced as that of the architect. The architects did not want to hear our name, but I put my foot down. And fortunately for us, we had the Minister of Works, who happens to be an engineer and who happens to have knowledge of all the professions in the construction industry. They agree with us that no, we should follow the real process of professionalism. And this is, I'm talking about Maman Kontokora, who was then the minister. And he backed us, and I would say he backed me especially. He backed all of us. And today we are proud. Now we can now stand. Later on, the architect wanted us to be part of it. I said, no. You study architecture. Yours is design. Ours is construction. You dream, and we put your dream into reality. There's difference between the two. Now, I'm proud that we are now in a position where we can hold our head amongst all the professionals, among all the construction industry.
I think it was in recognition of what I did. If you remember, as we are part of the council, it was in Bauchi at our last AGM, our last council meeting before the AGM of which translated to my handover to the new president, Buda. You remember that it was one of our president who, in recognition of what achievement I did, rose up and moved a motion that that building of the 6-story and the 3-story 6+ block of flats at APDC be named after me. I think that's an achievement that was done. I think it's a legacy because it is right now the council has approved it. It's been named after me because he said, as he said, after more than 40 years in Lagos, I'm getting 10 years in Abuja, there was no house for the builders. I was able to get, so that building was dedicated in my name. It was an honor which made me shed tears, but I think it's a recognition of some of the things that I said I will, and alhamdulillah, I was able to do it.
The issue of building code had the limelight during my time. That's one legacy I can never forget. Secondly, I also had the opportunity to represent the Nigerian Institute of Building as the president of all the professions in the country. So that's also another legacy. We are only two who have had that opportunity so far. Myself and late St. Oefeko, who was also once president of the Association of Professional Bodies of Nigeria, through courtesy at Nigerian Institute of Building.
One of the things that I think I left behind is making sure that we improve on the structure for the management of the secretariat of our institute. It's a legacy that I believe we left behind. Those people that have been running the affairs of the institute, they put up, there was a structure. We made a structure. And we tried to build on that structure, and we tried to adapt that structure to the modern system. So it's a major legacy. And at the same time, I make sure that I groom other builders that can even perform better than myself after I may have stepped aside.
Well, I have mentioned a lot of them. Part of it is the issue of the artisan and craftsmen, majorly. Based on that, we have a board, the Artisan Registration Board, in place. It is number one legacy there. Part of it is that we also try to make sure that we train. Some of us have training schools. We have empowered members through being artists, through being assessors, through being verifiers, and it continues like that because the training will continue. Builders will keep on seizing the opportunity of taking the advantage before other professionals could take that advantage. I mean, look at it. Right now, the engineers too, we're looking at the builders, the way we are doing, especially when you have this empowered training now. The basement, the foundation laid came from the issue of the SURP training. And of course, by the time we were doing all this, preparing manuals, running up and down for it, some of these people were not aware. Today, the builders are the envy of the other professionals in the built environment.
As I look back to where the institute was coming from, where I came in as president and left, and where the institute is at today, I cannot but give kudos to progress made so far in all areas of activity of the institute. The institute has grown from the baby that it was when it was first established to when I came in as president, and today is stamping its authority in almost every area of importance in the country.
The institute has progressed a lot, and I will mention two major areas of progress. One, membership improvement. We now have thousands of members, and that is a big achievement. And I commend our past leaders and current leaders for doing that. Membership improvement. That's number one. Another one I want to quickly mention, an area where I think we have achieved a lot, is that we are now in our own building at Abuja. It is also a landmark achievement. So those two major areas, we have progressed.
We couldn't even dream it could happen. Not even in our wildest dreams. Not even in our wildest dreams. We have now such a large number of subscribers, members of the institutes, fellows, and we have seen passion demonstrated by the present members.
Initially, I got saddened when after 2 years after leaving office, because when I left office, the late Dr. Sunday took over, and unfortunately, he couldn't complete his period. Builder Dr. Bamishile took over, and he was my general secretary. What we did then, administratively then, people after Bamishile really disrupted the administration, and we had the initial mix-up, and well, it is being cleared now, because I'm not too happy that we are not having a clear cut in the administration of the NIOB.
There are progress. The progress are enormous, because each of the presidents that follow, the little contributions that I have personally made in compliance and with the support of other colleagues who are working their way up, was such that they didn't want to see anybody lowering the standard than what we have established. Everybody is trying to improve what we have put in place. I must say that these are collective interests and collective work between my humble self and the rest of my colleagues, including those who have been president before me.
In all sincerity and honesty, I think the current administration, the current council, they have tried. I won't say it is have a full pass mark, because they are faced with some other challenges, which are some of them as consequence of my leaving. I must confess, yes, throughout my 2 years of tenure, I personally dedicated all my allowances for 1 year towards the building's house, which I could as my contribution. But because every money that I was fighting to get in, I was using it to pay for the builder's house. So at the time of my handover, I left a very little amount of money for the management that took over. So it was a challenge for them to sit on their feet and also to generate more money. So I think that's the challenge that they have been facing, and they are still facing, because it's not quite more than a month that they are able to finish paying for the 7 million naira that I left outstanding for the full payment of the house.
It's very much positive. Like I told you, today we are highly recognized. There is nothing that is going on in the country that government is driving that has to do with the built environment, that the builders are not invited. So I think we've come a long way. And all the fights, all the squabbles we used to have before with the other sister professional bodies is almost gone today. Everyone knows precisely what his role is. So everyone, of course, has a role to play within the built environment. So I think there is relative peace. We are enjoying peace and harmony among the professionals in the built environment, and things are moving, because there is nothing that is more important than sharing knowledge.
I will say positive. Positive in the sense that we are improving. It is positive. We are improving. Some people may probably think, oh, they need to be running 100 miles per hour. Maybe we are running 50 miles per hour. But we are improving. In my own view, every blessed day, every year, there is an improvement.
Examination centers. We now have only 2 examination centers. I am aware of Nigerian Institute of Architects and Nigerian Institute of Surveyors and some other professional bodies, including Nigerian Institute of Engineers. They have more than 2 examination centers in the country. So we should work towards having more examination centers. Good, Abuja Center, Lagos Center. But my personal feeling is that we need more examination centers. Well, the criteria are there to follow. We will follow the criteria. But whatever we need to do, I don't know. But we need to do whatever we need to do to make sure that we have more than 2 examination centers in the country. Thank you very much.
You know, like when we came in, we know that we have problems. we know that everybody is doing builders work. The question of quacks and the people of other professions just coming in to do what they were not really trained, especially in management, things like that. When we came in, everybody was doing building, anybody. So we had to make sure that the mandate we had from government, based on our decree, was followed. We struggled to do that. What I am seeing is the present crop of leadership in NLB and the industry should make sure that we don't have people trying to masquerade into the profession again, because you see, when you are successful, you tend to relax. We tend to relax. If you are not careful, you will see all kinds of organizations coming up, even our time they had, saying they are this, they are that, they are that, without meeting the educational and professional challenge mandates that NIOB, for example, and also Cobon offer. So we have to make sure we have that. There are penalties. We should not be afraid to do that.
Is that we builders should keep the tempo, that the recognition that we fought for and we have received should be maintained.
First thing is that there is no end to learning. There's no end to learning. We should continue to ensure that those who are qualified builders continue to improve themselves competently by ensuring that what is required to be updated in their skills and knowledge continues to be taken seriously, and ensuring that everybody that calls himself a builder will at any point in time be able to stand the test of being a member of that noble profession by continuous professional development within themselves. And many of us should continue to work along with the training institutions, universities, polytechnics, where our students are being trained, and not leave the academics alone. There is this reinforcing medium between what is taught in the universities and polytechnic and what the practice is outside.
We have to put our foot down to be in the proper position among all the professions in the construction industry. I can say now categorically, without missing word, that we are number two. In the construction. Because when you take the engineers who have been in practicing for some time, and we ourselves at next. And now all the others who did not want us before, they're now jealous. They now want to be part of the institute. I said, no, you have to go through the line. If you go through the line, yes. Especially when we formed Cobon. The architects who were against us then, now they're now asking, pleading that we should make them part of Cobon. So I said, no. We can't make them part of, we can't make you part of Cobon. Because you study designing. Cobon is construction.
Advise that this at the current administration and subsequent ones coming see towards the development of that plot, of that piece of land that we have. It's very strategic. It's in a business area. It can be well. And to the builders, I need to call on all of us, including me, to see what we can do to give our own quota into development professionally, and also to see, for example, to the passage of the National Building Code for implementation. That is still there at the second reading of the National Assembly. So I think it's how we need to put our heads together, call the other stakeholders of the built environment to see that we suit the passage, so that the enforcement of the law can bring sanity into the menace of the building collapse in the country.
Well, the first thing the first advice is, we should see ourselves as friends. We should see ourselves as brothers and sisters. That is the first thing. We should love each other. Love is the key word. And we should go by constructive criticism. if you see me as your brother, if you are going to criticize me, you criticize me constructively. And when you are criticizing me, I will see you as, oh, this guy he loves me and he wants me to get better. That is why he's coming up with this criticism. So the first thing is that we must love each other.
In as much as any issue relates to building, I see members of this institute as members who has been given the opportunity to be empowered, and many of them are getting empowered, and they will continue to perform to the benefit of our country, Nigeria. But in saying this, I would want to advise that we, in our own part, should be hardworking enough, should make sure that we shun tribalism, we shun the issue of, attacking each other within the system. We should make sure that we cooperate very well to push our institute to the highest level.
The institute will keep on growing because there will be many fronts to be covered. But the major hurdle for me is the mandatory engagement of members, both in public and private sector, formally and informally, to provide the services that they have been statutorily supposed to carry out. For me, the level of unemployment within the industry, especially as literally to builders, for me, is unacceptable. We must continue to fight and ensure that the builder's relevance in all strata of building production management is recognized. If we must come to a level where a building will not stand in this country without a builder being involved. That is one. The second one is that the institute, as a matter of urgency, should open up international linkages, because these are the only areas where we can gain competitive edge, we can collaborate, we can cooperate, and we can advance knowledge within the local community by tapping for international community. There's many bodies out there that are waiting for us to collaborate with. I think it's high time the institute wake up and deliberately go out to consume these relationships internationally.